Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Howl-O-Ween concert. This evening's event is presented in support of road detection teams. We appreciate your attendance in support of this organization and their programs. We welcome your dogs, and they can join in with their voices also. You don't need to shush them. This is just part of their excitement. If possible, please hold your applause to the end of the show. Now, I'd like to introduce Jess, Evie, Isaiah, and Amarin to you, and they will come up here and present introductions.
Listed in your program are the names of people that are sponsored of this concert. You'll see the names Filson, Pips, and Hugo highlighted in red. These are dogs that have been rescued and trained by the rogue detection team to do their conservation field work. We would like to read the names of these sponsors to you now. Filson, Ed Lee, Ron Cohen, R Consulting Ltd, Diana Beterbide.
William Light and Ellen Johnson.
Linda Riggs, Janet and Leonard Wood, Kim Bauer, Markroft family Elizabeth English, Doug and Karen Roof, Tim and Wendy Foley, Judy Schok.
Barb D., Bonnie New, Lytle family, Dan McMahon, Cindy Summers, Betty and D'Angelo, Diana Clark, Greg and Robin Shepard.
And tell them who you are.
I'm Amarin.
And then you stand up there.
I'm Evie.
I'm Jess.
I'm Isaiah.
I lost my program. Are you up next? I lost my program. Oh, it's Jess and Isaiah. Sorry.
I am going to be reading selections of The Halloween Tree. It's a popular story written by Ray Bradbury in 1972. It's a lovely reminder of Halloween as it was 50 to 60 years ago and from simpler times. I will be reading excerpts from this story in 5 sections, along with the musical performances. We hope you enjoy the show. Part 1. It was a small town by a small river and a small lake in a small northern part of the state. There wasn't so much wilderness around you couldn't see the town. But on the other hand, there wasn't so much town you couldn't see and feel and touch and smell the wilderness. The town was full of trees and dry grass and dead flowers now that autumn was here, and full of fences to walk on and sidewalks to skate on and a large ravine. And it was the afternoon of Halloween, and all the houses shut against a cool wind, and the town full of cold sunlight. But suddenly the day was gone. Night came out from under each tree and spread. The wind outside nested in each tree, prowled the sidewalks in invisible treads like unseen cats. Anyone could see that the wind was a special wind this night, and the darkness took on a special, took on a special feel because it was All Hallows Eve. Half-dressed children greased paint on their cheeks. Here a hunchback, there a medium-sized giant. Attics were still being rummaged. Tom put on his bones. Wham! 8 front doors banged shut. Galloping, rushing, they seized a final sheet, adjusted a last mask, shouting at the way the wind took them along, helped their running, glad of the wind, letting the sheer exhilaration of being alive and out on this night pull their lungs and shape their throats into a yell. 8 children collided at one intersection. Here I am. Witch, ape man, skeleton, said Tom, hilarious inside his bones. Gargoyle, beggar, Mr. Death himself. Who's that? Won't tell, secret, cried the witch. Everyone laughed. Who's that? Mummy, cried the child inside the ancient yellow wrappings, like an immense cigar stalking the night streets. And who's? No time, said someone. Trick or treat. Yeah. Shrieking, wailing, full of banshee mirth, they ran. But in the middle of the running and laughing, they stopped. 6, 7, 8. That can't be. Count again. 4, 5, 6. Should be 9 of us. Someone's missing. Pipkin's not here. How did they know? They were all hidden behind masks. And yet, they could feel his absence. Pipkin, he's never missed a Halloween in a zillion years. Boy, this is awful. Come on. And in one vast swerve, they circled round and down the middle of the street, blown like leaves before a storm. Here's his place. Gosh, said someone, what if Pipkin is sick? And someone threw a crab apple at Pipkin's front door. It made a small thump. They waited. The front door opened. Pipkin stepped out. Not flew, not banged, not exploded. Pipkin, they shouted to scare away their uneasiness. Hi, gang, said Pipkin. His face was pale. He was holding his right side with one hand. You don't look ready, said Tom. You sick? Where's your costume? You go on ahead. It's nothing, I tell you. Look, go on straight on down toward the ravine. Head for the house, okay? The place of the haunts in the ravine? Yeah? Okay, Pipkin, as long as you're sure. I'm sure. On your marks, get set, go. They ran. When they looked back again, he was gone. They banged the doors. They shouted trick or treat, and their brown paper bags began to fill with incredible sweets. They galloped with their teeth glued shut with pink gum. They ran with red wax lips bedazzling their faces. They reached the edge of town and the place where civilization fell away in darkness. The ravine filled with varieties of night sounds, lurkings of black ink streaming creek, lingerings of autumns that rolled over in fire and bronze and died 1,000 years ago. They lined up on the rim of darkness looking down, and then Tom pointed. That's where Pipkin told us to go. He vanished. All looked. They saw a small shape race down the dirt path into 100 million tons of night, all crammed in that huge dark pit, that dank cellar, that deliciously frightening ravine. Yelling, they plunged after. End of part one. Part two. They ran down through the ravine at a swift rush, all laughing, jostling, all elbows and ankles, all steamy snort and roustabout, to stop in collision when Tom stopped and pointed up the path. There, he whispered. There's the only house in town worth visiting on Halloween. There. Yeah, said everyone, for it was true. The house was special and fine and tall and dark. There must have been 1,000 windows in its sides, all shimmering with cold stars. The house beckoned with its towers, invited with its gummed shut doors. A haunted house, and all on All Hallows Eve, 8 small hearts beat up an absolute storm. Come on! But they were already crowding up the path until they stood at last by a crumbling wall, looking up and up and up, still farther up at the great tomb-yard top of the old house. The high mountain peak of the mansion was littered with what looked like black bones or iron rods, and enough chimneys to choke out smoke signals from 3 dozen fires. Even as they watched, a kind of bleak exhalation of soot breathed up out of some 4 dozen flues, darkening the sky still more, putting out some few stars. Boy, said Tom, Pipkin sure knew what he was talking about. Boy, said all agreeing. They crept along a weed-infested path toward the crumpled front porch. Tom inched his bony foot up on the first porch step. The others gasped for his bravery. So now a compact mass of children moved up on the porch amid cries of the planks underfoot and shudderings of their bodies. Each wished to pull back, swivel about, run, but found themselves trapped. The group leaned and made a run and a stop to the front door of the house, which is as tall as a coffin and twice as thin. They stood there for a long moment, various hands reaching out like the legs of an immense spider, as if to twist that cold knob or reach up for the knocker on the front door. Meanwhile, the wooden floorings of the porch sank and wallowed beneath their weight, threatening at every shift of proportion to give way and fling them into some cockroach abyss beneath. The witch cried, "Look!" and all looked at the knocker on the door. Tom's hand trembled out to touch it. A Marley knocker. What? You know, Scrooge and Marley, A Christmas Carol, whispered Tom. And indeed, the face that made up the knocker on the door was the face of a man with a dread toothache, his jaw bandaged, his hair askew, his teeth prolapsed, his eyes wild. Dead as a doornail, Marley, friend to Scrooge, inhabitor of lands beyond the grave, doomed to wander this earth forever until, knock, they said. Tom took hold of old Marley's cold and grisly jaw, lifted it, and let it fall. All jumped. The entire house shook. Its bones ground together. Shades snapped up so that windows blinked wide their ghastly eyes. Tom cat leaped to the porch rail, staring up. Tom whirled to look at the faintly shuddering windows. Moonlit reflections trembled in the glass, like schools of disturbed silver minnows. Then the front door gave a shake, a twist of its knob, a grimace of its Marley knocker, and flung itself wide. The wind made by the suddenly opened door almost knocked them off the porch. They seized one another, yelling. Then the darkness within the house inhaled. A wind sucked through the gaping door. It pulled and dragged them across the porch. They had to lean back so as not to be snatched into the deep, dark hall. They struggled, shouted, clutched the porch rails. But then the wind ceased. Darkness moved within darkness. Inside the house, a long way off, someone was walking toward the door. Whoever it was must have been dressed all in black, for they could see nothing but a pale white face drifting on the air. And evil came and hung in the doorway before them. Behind the smile, the tall man hid in shadow. They could see his eyes now, small pinpoints of green fire in little charred pits of sockets looking out at them. "Well," said Tom, "trick or treat?" "Trick," said the smile in the dark. "Treat?" "Yes, sir. No treats," he said. "Only trick." The door slammed. The house thundered with showers of dust. They stared at the locked, shut-fast front door. The Marley knocker was not scowling, but smiling an evil smile. "What's he mean?" asked Tom. "No treats, only trick?" Backing off around the side of the house, they were astonished at the sounds it made. A whole rigmarole of whispers, squeaks, creaks. With every step they took, the great house leaned after them with soft groans. They rounded the far side of the house and stopped, for there was the tree. And it was such a tree they had never seen in all their lives. It stood in the middle of a vast yard behind the terribly strange house. And this tree rose up some 100 feet in the air, taller than the high roofs, and full, well-branched, and covered all over with red and brown and yellow autumn leaves. "But," whispered Tom, "oh, look, what's up in that tree?" For the tree was hung with a variety of pumpkins of every shape and size, and a number of tints and hues of smoky yellow and bright orange. "A pumpkin tree," someone said. "No," said Tom. The wind blew among the high branches and tossed their bright burdens softly. "A Howl-O-Ween tree," said Tom, and he was right. The end of part 2. Part 3. The pumpkins on the tree were not mere pumpkins. Each had a face sliced in it. Each face was different. Every mouth smiled hideously in some new way. There must have been 1,000 pumpkins on this tree, hung high and on every branch, and twice times 1,000 glares and winks and blinks and leerings of fresh-cut eyes. And as they watched, a new thing happened. The pumpkins began to come alive, one by one, starting at the bottom of the tree, and the nearest pumpkin's candles took fire within the raw interiors. This one, and then that, and then this, and then still another, and on up and around. 3 pumpkins here, 7 pumpkins still higher, until 1,000 pumpkins lit their candles, which is to say brightened up all the faces. Flames guttered in their toothed mouths, sparks leaped out their ripe-cut ears, and from somewhere, 2 voices, 3, or maybe 4 voices whispered and chanted a kind of sing-song or old sea shanty of the sky and time and the earth turning over into sleep. The rain spouts blew spider dust. It's big, it's broad. A voice smoked from the rooftop chimney. It's broad, it's bright. It fills the sky all Hallows night. From open windows somewhere cobwebs drifted. The strangest sight you've ever seen, the monster tree on Halloween. The candles flickered and flared. The wind crooned in, the wind crooned out. The pumpkin mouths tuning the song. The leaves have burned to gold and red. The grass is brown, the old year dead. But hang the harvest high, oh see the candle constellations on the Halloween tree. Tom felt his mouth stir like a small mouse wanting to sing. The stars they turn, the candles burn, and the mouse leaves scurry on the cold wind borne, and a mob of smiles shines down on thee from the gourds hung high on the Halloween tree. The smile of the witch, and the smile of the cat, and the smile of the beast, and the smile of the bat, the smile of the reaper taking his fee, all cut and glimmer on the Halloween tree. Halloween tree, all the children whispered it. Halloween tree. And then there was silence, and during the silence, the last of all Hallows tree candles were lit in titanic constellations, woven up through the black branches and peeking down through the twigs and crisp leaves. And the tree had now become one vast, substantial smile. The last of the pumpkins now were lit. The air around the tree was Indian summer breathing warm. The tree exhaled sooty smoke and raw pumpkin smell upon them. Gosh, said Tom, I never saw a tree like this in my life, like a Christmas tree, only bigger. And all those candles and pumpkins, what's it mean? What's it celebrate? Celebrate, a vast voice whispered somewhere, perhaps in a chimney soot bellows, or perhaps all the windows of the house opened like mouths at the same moment behind them, sliding up, sliding down, announcing the word celebrate, with breathings out of darkness. Yes, said the gigantic whisper, which trembled the candles and the pumpkins. Celebration. The children leaped around, but the house was still. The windows were closed and brimmed with pools of moonlight. Last one ends an old maid, cried Tom suddenly, and a bond of leaves lay waiting like old fires, old gold, and they ran and dived at the huge, lovely pile of autumn treasure. And in the moment of diving, about to vanish beneath the leaves in crisp swarms, yelling, shouting, shoving, falling, there was an immense gulp of breath, a seizing in of air. For coming up out of the pile of trees was a bony, white hand, all by itself, and following it, all smiles, hidden one moment, but now revealed as it slid upward, was a white skull. And what had been a delicious pool of oak and elm and poplar leaves to thrash and sink and hide in, now became the last place on all this world they wanted to be. for the white bony hand was flying on the air, and the white skull rose to hover before them, and they fell back, colliding until in one wild mass they fell flat upon the earth and writhed and tore at the grass to fight, free, scrambled, try to run. "Help!" they cried. "Oh, yes, help," said the skull. Then peal after peal of laughter froze them further as the hand upon the air, the bony skeleton hand, reached up, took hold of the white skull face, and peeled it down and off. The children blinked once behind their masks. That's the end of part 3.
The Peer Gynt Suite is the program music to the Henrik Ibsen's 1867 play. The music was written by the Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg in 1875. Ace's death is a somber music about the death of Peer Gynt's mother. In the play, Peer falls in love with a girl but is not allowed to marry her. After being forced to leave home for being untrustworthy, Peer finds himself in the Hall of the Mountain King, where he is captured by trolls. He upsets the king of the trolls when he refuses to marry the king's daughter and become a troll.
This is driving me nuts. Oh gosh, I'm nuts. Good? Not that thing that drives you nuts?
Part 4. The huge man in dark clothes soared up out of the leaves, taller and yet taller. He grew like a tree. He put out branches that were hands. He stood framed against the Howl-O-Ween tree itself, his outstretched arms and long white bony fingers festooned with orange globes of fire and burning smiles. His eyes were pressed tight as he roared his laughter. His mouth gaped wide to let an autumn wind rush out. Not treat, no, not treat, trick, trick, trick. They lay there waiting for the earthquake to come, and it came. The tall man's laughter took hold of the ground and gave it a shake. This tremor passed through their bones, came out of their mouths, and it came out in the form of still more laughter. They sat up amid the ruins of the thrashed up leaf pile, surprised. Then they looked up at the man as if to verify their surprise. Yes, that was a trick you'd forgotten. No, you never knew. And he leaned against the tree, finishing out his fits of happiness, shaking the trunk, making the 1,000 pumpkins shiver, and the fires inside to smoke and dance. The man nodded, smiling. Well, now you know something about Halloween you never knew before. How did you like my trick? Is that what you used to do on Halloween? Asked the witch. This and more, but let me introduce myself. Mound Shroud is the name. Carapace, clavicle, mound shroud. A fine name, said Mr. Mound Shroud, giving it a full night church sound. And a fine night and all the deep, dark, wild, long history of Halloween waiting to swallow us whole. Swallow us? Yes, cried Mound Shroud. Look at yourselves. Why are you wearing that skull face, and you carrying a scythe, and you made up like a witch, and you? Well, said Tom, a mouse behind his skull-white muslin. No. Yeah, said the devil. Can't come to think of it, why am I wearing this? He fingered his red cloak and sharp rubber horns and lovely pitchfork. And me this, said the ghost, trailing his long white graveyard sheets. And all were given to wonder, and touched their own costumes and refit their own masks. Then wouldn't it be fun for you to find out? Asked Mr. Mound Shroud. I tell you, if only there was time. It's only 6:30. Halloween hasn't even begun, said Tom in his cold bones. True, said Mr. Mound Shroud. All right, come along. At the edge of the deep, dark ravine, he pointed over the rim of the hills and the earth, away from the light of the moon, under the dim light of strange stars. The wind fluttered his black cloak and the hood that half shadowed and now half revealed his almost fleshless face. There, do you see it? What? The undiscovered country out there. Look long, look deep, make a feast. The past, children, the past. Oh, it's dark, yes, and full of nightmare. Everything that Halloween ever was lies buried there. He burned his gaze at them. What is Halloween? How did it start? Where, why, what for? Witches, cats, mummy dust, taunts. It's all there in that country from which no one returns. They swallowed hard. End of part 4.
song Monster Mash is narrated by a mad scientist whose monster, late one evening, rises up from his slab to perform a new dance, with the name implying it is inspired by the mashed potato, a popular dance in the early 1960s. The dance becomes the hit of the land when the scientist throws a party for all other monsters. Among them, classics 1940s horror film icons such as The Wolfman, Igor, Count Dracula, and his son.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight, for my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise, he did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. He did the monster mash. From my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast, the ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrodes. They did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rockin', all were digging the sounds. Igor on chains by his baying hounds. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker 5. They played the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They played the monster mash. Out from his coffin Drax's voice did ring. Seems he was troubled by just one thing. He opened the lid and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?" It's now the monster mash. And it's a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool, Jack's part of the band, and my monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them Boris sent you. Then you can monster mash and do my graveyard smash. You'll catch on in a flash. Then you can monster mash.
Colette Yee is a detection dog methodologist, and she specializes in special operations manager for rogue detection teams, an organization specializing in conservation detection dog surveys. Her passion lies in growing the detection dog field by sharing knowledge and mentoring dog teams, both within Rogue and across organizations around the world. Colette has extensive experience conducting non-invasive surveys, including surveying for threatened and endangered species, cryptic species, invisible targets, mortalities, and invasive species. She has surveyed for animals as large as killer whales to as teeny as bumblebees, but is always looking for new targets and applications to apply this unique method.
Is Colette here? She had a dog. Oops, is this still on? Her dog was very enthusiastic about being here. So I think that maybe she might have. Nope, there she is. There she is. Good. And Michelle, can you bring the lights up so everybody can see? Do you want to leave it there or do you want to hold it?
It's fine. It's fine.
Is somebody getting pictures of this stuff?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. So my name is Colette. I work for Rogue Detection Teams, and we do non-invasive surveys, which means we don't have to disturb the animals to collect data on them. Something that we do very commonly is looking for scat. Those of you who are not familiar with that word, it's the scientific word for poop. So yes, our dogs use their incredible sense of smell to help locate nice stinky targets like that. And we get to help researchers all around the world study very elusive and cryptic wildlife. Yes, thanks, Riley. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming out tonight. It's so amazing to see all these wonderful costumes and cute dogs and enjoy the incredible music.
Do you want to do question and answer? Do you want to?
Sure, yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Where do you find the dog?
Oh, we go to shelters kind of all over the place, and we're in touch with a lot of rescues. And yeah, they'll let us know when they have a dog with really high energy. So we look for dogs that are obsessed with playing fetch. And we'll sometimes just go kind of shelter to shelter, and I'll take out a ball and just play with the dogs and see, who's kind of up for playing a game all day long. So it goes pretty much, they find a sample, we give them their ball, and we just kind of play like find and fetch all day long with them. Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah.
What are your current projects right now?
Oh, so many. I guess.
Oh yeah, you'll have to repeat my question.
Oh, sorry. What are our current projects? So in wintertime, things actually finally start to slow down, and it's a chance for us to get off the road for once and catch our breath. But we do a lot of studies with large carnivores, so cougars, wolves, bears, coyotes, bobcats. And I actually kind of specialize in some of our more obscure projects, like killer whales, bumblebees, bats, which I am today. And so, yeah, lots and lots of different animals, and we're kind of always picking up new projects every year. Yeah.
What's the smallest animal you've ever studied?
Ooh, for me, the smallest one would be bumblebees. Yeah.
And where do you find those bumblebees? Repeat that so that we know.
Where do we find the bumblebees? So the bumblebees, we're actually looking for their nests, so they nest in the ground. But these are kind of a lot smaller and usually harder to find than you would see like a honeybee hive or a wasp nest, where you just kind of see a lot of activity. And so they can be nesting in residential areas, in forested. They have a huge range of habitats that they actually exist in, but the nests are still pretty difficult to locate. You another one? Yeah.
How many dogs are on your team currently?
Ooh, currently, that's a tough one because we do have a lot of. How many dogs do we currently have on our team? So we have 12 kind of like full-time resident dogs, and then we have actually quite a few friends around the country that like to come in and help with projects, kind of maybe just for the summer. And so yeah, it kind of fluctuates anywhere up to like 20 dogs at a time. Yeah. Ooh, let's see. Together as a whole, for our whole organization, we have probably done upwards of 50 different species. Myself and my main dog, Jack, he doesn't love to be in very crowded and enclosed spaces, so he's actually waiting back home for me. But he has done, I think I just counted, Correct me if I'm wrong, Riley. 22 species. Yeah. And Riley has a very important job of just being the sweet dog that everybody loves to hang out with and cuddle up on the couch and are not needs to be out running around 24/7 dog.
Oh, so he's not one of the dogs that you use for your...
No, she does come with me. She does come with me everywhere, and she'll have very special tasks like walking with me to put out equipment and hanging out and being a sweet girl. Yeah, she was at the house when you came to visit us on Squirrel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was the lazy one. Yeah. Whale poop. Okay, so whale poop actually floats, but kind of for a limited amount of time. So we've worked with southern resident killer whales up in like Puget Sound waters. So it floats for a certain amount of time, and we have the dog on the bow of the boat, and I'll stand right behind them, kind of watching their body language, and it can take 10, 20, half an hour sometimes to even find a sample, because at that point it's usually broken up into really, really tiny pieces, and with the glare on the water, it's kind of almost impossible to see without getting a dog out there to direct where the boat actually needs to go in order to scoop it up. Cool. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
So this is the part of the program that everybody loves. You are invited to bring your dog up to the stage and give us your name and your dog's name, and we will want to see all these great costumes, and we also want to see tricks if the dogs do them. I'm not interested in human tricks. So who wants to come up first? Nobody wants to show off their dogs? All right, I can do that. I can do that. So a few. Oh. Who's this, Amarin?
This is my dog, Annika.
He says it's his dog, Annika. I don't know how Mom feels about that. Yeah, because she... That's it. Excellent. If you didn't get a chance when you came in, next to the programs that are at this entrance and that entrance, there's also a piece of paper that has the biographies of the performers tonight. So grab one of those and take it with you if you like. We have a very diverse group of people that come and help me. The choir is amazing, as you can tell. They're all volunteer, and they meet on Wednesday nights from 7 to 8:30, and we would love to have you come and join us sing. Not only for this, but for other things as well. So, all right, thank you. We have more story? Do we have, let me see. Oh, the trio. Sorry, come on. See if you recognize this tune as they play.
And the final part, there were shadows mixed everywhere. Bats flew, owls shrieked, night ravens clustered like black leaves in trees. A great wing folded over the abyss. Many mice scampered and slithered in the shadows. A million tiny murders happened somewhere. The children thought of All Hallows Night and the billion ghosts wandering the lonely lanes in cold winds and strange smokes. 1,000 wings flew away. The clouds, like gauzy scenes, were pulled away to set a clean sky. The moon was there, a great eye. It looked down upon an empty path. Way off toward the horizon, something dark frittered and danced and slithered away in the cold star air. Finally, Mound Shroud spoke. So, it goes in every country, in every age, in every time. Each has its death festival, having to do with the seasons. From the caveman to the Egyptians to the Druids, and through Europe and Mexico, it's always the same, but different. What's that got to do with Halloween? Said Tom. The ground shuddered as with an ancient earthquake. Somewhere a volcano turned over in its sleep. Now, said Moonshroud. He blinked and lightning struck. His face flickered with fire as he spoke. Death was at the very heart, gizzard, light, soul, and body from early times. The sun died each night and slid down the cold sky each winter. Only by night fires was the caveman able to at last to turn his thoughts on a spit and base them with wonder. Would the sun be reborn next year or stay murdered? The long cold and darkness with long thoughts became the flesh of Halloween. Yeah, thought Tom, sure. I think every night the sun dies. Going to sleep, I wonder, will it come back? Tomorrow morning, will it still be dead? Middle of December, thought Tom, I often think the sun will never come back. Winter will go on forever. Moundshroud continued. So, in the middle of autumn, with everything dying, they remembered their own dead. Ghosts called in their heads. Memories, that's what ghosts are. But early people didn't know that. Behind their eyelids, late nights, the memory ghost called, waved, danced. On waking, they tossed twigs on the fire, shivered, wept. They could drive away wolves, but not memories, not ghosts. So they held tight, prayed for spring, watched the fire, thanked invisible gods for harvest of fruit and nuts. Why, the mummy gasped, blinking. Every day was like Halloween to them, remembering the dead, eating treats. And that's how Halloween began? Asked some. Sure, said the dressed up, fancy, pale ghost. People together outside in the dark before winter, scary stories, food, like cities, towns, streets, houses in modern times. Yes, Moonshroud beamed. Their festival of the dead, trick or treat, old style. But tricks from the dead if you don't feed them. So treats are laid out. Oh, strange, funny, strange, whispered Tom. Up in our town, we've forgotten what it's all about. The dead tonight, heck, they're forgotten. Nobody remembers. Boy, that's lonely. It could be almost like Thanksgiving, huh? And everyone sat down to dinner, but only half the people are able to eat. But no mind, they're there. It's like holding hands with your friends, but some of the friends are gone. Moonshroud laughed so his cape boomed on the night wind. His dry bones jangled inside his skin. What do you think, children? He asked. There it is. Do you see now? It's always the same but different. Day was always over. Night was always coming. And aren't you always afraid that the sun will never rise again? Long ago, people vanished forever. They died. Oh, Lord, they died. But came back in dreams. Those dreams were called ghosts and frightened people in every age. I don't know, cried Tom. The night's been too long. Yeah, said everyone, clustering close, shivering. And we've got to get home, don't we? The wind of time shook the vast house. The children were gone in an instant, running down through the ravine and up the street. And finally, they stood on the lawn near home and looked at the lovely sight of their smiles and tattered costumes and the grease paint running on their faces and the town clock struck midnight, and Halloween was over.
Thank you all for being here. Have some treats that are out in the Riverview room, and there are also some treats for your dogs. Don't forget. Thank you. Have a good night.